Hey, thanks for joining. Starting, can you see my video? All right. Is my video clear? All right. Okay, perfect. Okay. Welcome to this workshop. So this is going to be like a 1 hour quick introduction to full stack development. So welcome all of you to welcome. So welcome Siddharth to this workshop. So okay, so before we begin, I would like to talk about myself. I'd like to talk about this. What are you going to get? Everything. I'll talk about everything. So the topic of today is that. So in this topic, you will be learning in this webinar. It's a full stack Launchpad. So in this webinar, you learn like what are the basics that you require to become a full stack developer. Okay. So by the end of this session, I will teach you like what are the basics that are needed for anyone to become a full stack developer, a professional full stack developer. Okay. So can I get your commitment that you will be there till the end of the session? So please type in the chat yes, if that's possible. So can I get your commitment that you'll be there till the end of the session? Please type yes in the chat. Is my voice audible? Okay. Okay. So also I would like to know like, what is it that you're expecting from this webinar so that I can customize the topic based on that? So is it okay if you can like tell me like what is it that you're expecting from this session? You can type it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask. It's fine. Both of them is fine. Okay. So I hope you're able to hear me. Are you able to hear me, Siddharth? Right there? So is it okay if I can ask you for some response? Can you tell me like what is it that you're looking for in this webinar? So that I can like kind of customize the talk based on that. You can just tell me like what is the situation that you are currently in and what is it that you're expecting and what is it that you want to learn in full stack development? Then it'll be easy for me to talk around that. Okay, that's fine. So then I'm going to talk about the full stack development in general. All right, so thank you very much for joining everyone. So let's begin this full stack journey. So my name is Sridhar Jammalamadaka and yeah, hi. You wanted to say something? Okay, so my name is Sridhar Jammalamadaka and I have over 15 years of experience in IT and I have been working in full stack development for almost 15 years now. I've worked on various projects. I've worked in various companies like Oracle, Society General, Tech Mahindra, Tata Technologies, and presently working with IIIT Bangalore EHRC on a national level critical project. Okay. And then I've worked on various technologies like Java, .NET, and I've worked on JavaScript frameworks like Angular, React.js, jQuery, Spring Boot, and a lot of other things. So I've been into this trading space also. I've been most of the my career, I've been a tech lead, and right now I'm an architect. I'm working as an architect right now. And I've also been teaching. I've been training. I'm a freelance trainer, and I train all these subjects. I train this to people. So I have taken two batches, like one batch with Flipkart and two batches with Flipkart and one batch with PhonePe. And then I also taught a batch of 20 students who are like fresh out of college. And it was like a 45-day training for WAL. And they came from almost like zero to a stage where they were like really confident, and they were, when they were deployed in the projects, they were very confident. Okay, so they were very good at it. So they became very good at it from after the 45-day program that I took them through. So it was like a corporate program that the company sponsored, and I made them went through. I made them go through all of the uh, various modules of my program, and by the end of it, like they were really, really very confident, and they were very good at what they were in full stack development. And the company was also very happy about it. So I have a lot of success stories like that. So that's the reason why, I just wanted to say that I've been doing all of this from a long time. Okay, that's point number one. And the point number two is, why is the reason I'm doing this webinar? Let me tell you. So my story, I've always wanted to do something on my own, and I got a software engineer job. Before that, I was running a project center, embedded systems. Okay, in the college itself, we were running projects, etc., and we were doing well. But we didn't have, I didn't have support to go through it. So I joined job. So I joined Tata Techno. So I joined Tech Mahindra. Okay, I joined Tech Mahindra 2007, and then I worked for 2 years. And then there was a strong calling for me saying that I didn't like the work environment. Okay, so I somehow didn't like the idea of someone forcing me what I should be doing. So continuous monitoring, continuous feedback, politics. This was something which I didn't like at all. Okay. So I just wanted to be good, and I want to do something on my own. Okay. I didn't know what to do at that point of time. So it was like 2000, it was back in 2009 when I just took a break from my career. I just resigned. I didn't want to work, at least, IT with the corporates at that point of time. So I want to do something on my own. Tried for 1 year. I tried freelance blogging at that time, 2009 to 2010. Okay, but then life took over, and then I couldn't make much progress with that. I was not successful in that. I failed there. Okay, so it was like a big failure there, 2009 to 2010, and I had to get back to action, and I did everything to get a job, and I got a nice job in Tata Technologies with a good hike also. And from there, I worked for a couple of years, and then I did my MTech, and then I worked for a couple of years. And then at in 2019 was something like I took out a break, and then I started doing some freelance works. I started working for some startups, working on a startup product, etc. Right now, I'm working on a part-time consultant mode. So the point is, see, my story is that I don't like that how the corporates take advantage of us. At least personally, that's my value. I don't like corporates taking advantage of people. At least I don't like personally being taken advantage of. Okay, I'm not that kind of person who likes to, you know, just work 9 by 5, 9 to 5. I know it's not even 9 to 5, it's 9 to 9, morning 9 to evening 9. I don't like working that way. Even on Saturdays, Sundays, being forced, and office politics, no appraisals. I don't like all this politics. So that's when I decided that I will work really hard, and I'll try to be independent on my own. Okay. So that's when I decided that, that's when I realized that, if I had the right skills, then I can do whatever I want. So that's what. So I worked a lot on myself, and I've learned a lot of technologies. I learned full stack development in depth. And right now, I enjoy the freedom and flexibility. And I think I came out of the grill of the corporates. Right now, I work as a part time consultant, but I choose the number of hours that I want to work. It's like I'm not dictated how many hours I should work. And I choose the technologies. I choose this work because I like doing this. Okay. So this is about me. So that's about me. And so that's what I want to teach. Like, just be good at what you're doing. Become very good at what you're doing. So when you're very, very good at what you're doing, you don't have to be becoming a slave of the corporate. Actually, you can start a corporate. You can be the corporate. Okay, so that's what it is. I mean, you don't want to be a part of the game. You should be the player who is actually playing the game. That's my value system. Okay, so that's what I think. So the vehicle is, if you learn full stack development really, really well, so I strongly believe that it will enable you to get rid of this grill. It'll help you get out of this corporate drudgery. Okay, so that's my formula. That's what I think it is. Okay, so that's about me. So now talking about the topic for today is going to be the full stack development. Okay, so what is full stack development? We will see like what's full stack development. Okay, so let's just start the today's class. Okay, let me share my screen here. So how to become a master of full stack development? We call it the FSD. So what is the market like in full stack development and what's going on? What is this full stack development all about? So the full stack development, FSD, first of all, stands for full stack development. Okay, or full stack developer. Okay. Okay. So what does it take to become a full stack developer? So let me tell you what it takes to become a full stack developer. So what is it that you need? So a lot of questions will be asked around this area. A lot of people ask me these questions. These are the frequently asked questions. The questions are, what is it very difficult to become a full stack developer? Okay, I would say it's not very difficult, but it is a long journey. It's a long journey. It's definitely a long journey. It's like putting 1,000 small steps. So putting 1,000 small steps is not really difficult, but putting 1,000 of them can be difficult. So it can be overwhelming because there are so many steps that you need to be taking. So that's full stack development. So if you're persistent and if you're willing to put that 1,000 small steps, okay, then you become the master of full stack development. All right. So that's the thing about full stack development. And so some people ask, is it very expensive to become a full stack developer? Do I have to spend a lot of money? Absolutely not. Full stack development, you don't need to spend a lot of money. All you need is some tools, okay, and skills which you can pick up. Okay, you need a direction, a structure to become a full stack developer. And you really, really, really don't need to spend a lot of money for this. And you should be able to become a full stack developer easily because there are a lot of resources that are available. All you need is a direction. You need to know what tools you need to do. You need to know like what skills you must practice. So these are some things that you need some guidance about. So if you get this kind of guidance, it's not very difficult to crack the full stack development. Okay, so that's the thing. And sometimes some people ask me, do I have to be very smart to be a full stack developer? No, you don't have to be super smart. So you can be a normal person. Okay, you don't have to be an extraordinary Mark Zuckerberg. You don't have to be Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg. You can be who you are. You can be a normal person and you can still be a full stack developer. Okay, all you need is a structure and you need some tools, you need some guidance, and so you need some frameworks, and you can become a full stack developer. Okay, so now let's go to the next one and just see. So what does it take to become a full stack developer? So for example, this is like 2024. If I have to become a full stack developer in 2024, what are the things that I have to learn? So let's just see what is it that you need to know. What tools do you require? Do you need to pay some money for these tools? Let's see. So the first good news is all the tools that you're going to use for learning full stack development, I'll tell you all of them are open source and
Can you turn
free.
on the
Hi. Sorry.
can you turn on
Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my video? Are you able to see my audio? Are you able to hear me? Siddharth?
the chat?
Chat. Okay, thank you. I thought the chat was on. Give me a moment. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry about it. Just realized that the chat was on off. Thank you. Thank you, Siddharth. All right, fine. Yes, Siddharth. Yeah, you can put it in the chat. Like, what are your expectations? What is it that you want to learn? So that I can customize the talk based on that. What is it that you're expecting? Okay, Java full stack developer. Perfect. Is there anything that you want to know about, like the front end framework? Anything like what is that front end framework that you want to learn? Java plus React. Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right, let's go that way. All right, so to become a Java full stack developer, what is it that you require? So the first good news is that all of the technologies that you want to learn, yeah, when you say it's like Java full stack developer, you need to know some frameworks and you need to use some softwares and frameworks and programming languages. Okay, let me talk about some frameworks that you will be using. So frameworks and platforms. So what are these? And are they going to cost you something? Let me tell you. Okay, so the first thing is the frameworks that you need to know are like, so Spring Boot, and second framework that you need to know is like React JS. Okay, and the platforms that you need to install on your system are, you need to install Node.js, and you need to install Java. It can be, you can start with 11 or 17. Okay. You ask me whether you want to choose between 11 or 17. I will say, okay, go for Java 17. I mean, if you're starting from scratch, go for 17. If you're already into Java or something, if you want to become deeper, go with Java 11. Okay. Both of them are good. No problem. Not Java 8. It's like a little old now. So these are the platforms, and what are the tools that you need? So all you need is VS Code. This is a free software. You don't have to pay any money for this. And then you need IntelliJ Community Edition. Okay, this is my IDE preference of choice. My preference is IDE for Java is IntelliJ. But if you want, you can definitely use Eclipse as well. That's also good. That's like the alternative. Or you could even use VS Code for writing Java code as well. That's also very much possible. But I would recommend using one of these two for Java. I would recommend VS Code too much for Java. So the good news is the Spring Boot is open source, React.js is open source, Node.js is open source, Java 11 may not be open source, but free for sure. VS Code is free, IntelliJ is free, at least the community edition is free. All right, so that's great. So let's see what else is there. So if you have to see like what are the databases that you need to install, so you need to work with some database. So RDBMS, let us say that you're going to, I will suggest you to learn PostgreSQL. This is an SQL RDBMS software, which is again free. So all of them are absolutely free to become a Java Spring Boot and React JS developer. What is a combination? You can call it as a JSR. If you want to add the Postgres also, I will say JSRP. Okay. All right. So JSRP. So if you just put things in the other order. JSPR, Jasper. That's the combination, Jasper, right? So this is a combination that you have to learn. All right. So now let's go to the next step. How do we become a full stack developer, and how long does it take, and what are the components that you have to learn? Let's go step by step, one by one. If you get some questions in your mind, just feel free to put it in the chat and I will answer them. Okay, I will answer them. So I'll just start answering some of the frequently asked questions. What are the things that I should know to become a full stack developer? What components should I know to become a full stack developer? Okay, so first and foremost, you must learn HTML. All right, what's HTML? Okay, right. I can answer you that. Okay, so that's the answer. I gave you the answer. Okay, I know it's weird to be the only one, but I'm just doing it for one person also. Okay. All right. So if that's okay, you can continue. Okay. So feel free to ask questions. I'm doing it just for you. It's not like I'm doing it for you, but nobody else turned up for a moment. Okay. Okay, fine. So the thing is, what else do you need to know for learning to become a full stack developer? Okay. So you need HTML. You need to know CSS. CSS. I'll tell you first of all, what is HTML? HTML is like the skeleton for your code. Okay. So whatever web pages that you're building, the skeleton is based on HTML. Okay. And what is CSS? CSS is the what adds beauty to your page. You know, if you're writing some page, the basic version of it, it doesn't look good. If you want to add colors, if you want to add images, if you want to look beautiful, that's where you require CSS. Okay, some of the frameworks that might be useful for you, which you can learn in CSS as you advance. So some basic concepts you have to definitely learn, the basics for sure. And you have to learn layouts. Okay, so we have the popular layouts like Flex and Grid. So very much popular these days, Flex and Grid. And if you want some high level framework without, you don't want to get like too much into CSS, so that's when you can learn Bootstrap, which will make your life easy. Okay, Bootstrap makes your life very easy. And apart from that, you can also learn Material UI if you want to. There are many alternatives also like Tailwind, etc. But these are like the bare minimum. Okay. So these are like the essentials, HTML and CSS. And the next thing that you have to learn is JavaScript. JavaScript is the programming language that is used by the browser. So the browser, if you want to write some kind of scripting, so that's what is JavaScript. Okay. So which one is better, Bootstrap or Tailwind? As I have only used Tailwind till now, I'll tell you, there's no way to tell which one is better. Okay. It's nothing like Bootstrap is better than Tailwind or something. I can say if you really want to objectively compare, I will say there are pros and cons for each of them. If you ask me, I've worked with Bootstrap and I like it. Okay. Tailwind is also good, but I've never used it. But from what I saw, I'm not sure if it has all the features of Bootstrap. Okay. But there's no need to think like that. This is better or this is better. Learn both. What is there? I mean, it won't take you much time. It will just take you 1-2 hours to learn Bootstrap. Not even that, 30 minutes. It's very quick. Okay. So you don't have to think either or. If you want to use both of them. That's not a problem. Okay. So Bootstrap, Tailwind, Material UI, all of them are quite good. And I will say, if you can have your basics of CSS, you'll be really happy in the long run. If you can get some Flex and Grid basic CSS, if you're able to build that, you'll be really happy. You don't have to depend on these frameworks, because sometimes we run into some kind of dead ends with these frameworks. Okay, I've seen that a lot of times. It'll be always very helpful if you can get some basics strong in CSS, because it always comes back on us. So coming to the next part, that's JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language for the browser. Okay, the browsers, they use JavaScript. All right. So now JavaScript is not Java. JavaScript is a scripting language. It's an interpreted language, and it is pretty easy, very easy to learn it. But having said that, there are many concepts. Even though it is easy, there are some advanced concepts which can get a little difficult. Something like ES6. Okay, ES6 or ES 2006, 2012, ES 2012, ES 2014, etc. Okay, so these are some tricks. This is like functional programming. You have to pick this up. And arrow functions. Okay, and you have to learn asynchronous programming. This is a little bit tricky part, but these fundamentals will be very helpful for you as you use the frameworks. So it's very easy to jump into the frameworks, but then if you don't have the fundamentals of JavaScript, it's going to be a lot of struggle. Every time we have to keep opening Google, and you'll not be confident about what you're doing. Okay. So now coming to the frameworks, we have multiple options. I'm going to only focus on React. The other options that you have are like Angular is there, Vue.js is there, but I'm not focusing on all of them. React.js is perfect, and it's really, really doing well. And it's an open source by Facebook. It's pretty good. And the performance is also very nice for React.js. And the learning curve is also easy. It's not very difficult to learn React.js. Okay. So that's about it. So that's the framework that we're talking about. And what else do you need to know? You need to know RDBMS. You need to know SQL programming language. Okay. SQL is a structured query language. You need to know to be able to write queries on the DB. Okay. You have to write queries on the database. Okay. Yeah. What's the question? Is React a framework or a library? React is actually a library. Technically, it's a library. It's a JavaScript library, but it's not wrong to call it a framework also. It is also called as a front-end framework. Okay. So these definitions, there is no strict definition for a framework or a library. Okay. It's also a library. It's also a framework. Okay. So we can sometimes interchangeably, we can also say it's a library. Yeah. It's also a front-end framework as well. It's one of the front-end frameworks. Okay. All right. So what else? What else do you need to know? So these are the skills that I said, right? So if you can learn a little bit of, yeah, I think we forgot to talk about Java. You need to know Java. Let's talk about Java. So you need to be like good at Java, object-oriented programming, and design patterns and the basics of object-oriented programming. And then you have to be good at Spring and Spring Boot. All right. And then it is very useful if you can learn ORM language like Hibernate or JPA. It's very useful to learn this. Okay. And very useful if you can learn JDBC as well. Okay. And what else? Yeah. If you want to learn reactive Java, that's okay, but it's not so important. Okay. This is good enough. And another thing that you'll have to learn is about how to create REST APIs using Java. That is using Spring. How can you use the controllers to write REST API? So you should know how to use controllers, how to use service, how to use repository. All right. So this is all that these are all the things that you require to become a full stack developer. So if I have to make a diagrammatic view of this, what all you need to learn? So it's something like, okay, let's say this is Java. You need Java. And let's say if I have to write this, and then you're required to know JavaScript. Okay. And then you have to learn HTML plus CSS. Yeah, I'll tell about Hibernate right now. And then you can learn about SQL. So you can say that Java, JavaScript, HTML, SQL are like the pillars for full stack development. So on top of Java, you will be learning here, you learn Spring Boot. Okay, this is one thing. It's a part of Java. Okay, and then you will also learn Hibernate. I'll tell you what is Hibernate now. So what's Hibernate? Hibernate is object relationship mapping framework. So there are two ways of connecting Java to database. Okay, let us say that this is your Java middleware. This is your Java code. And let's say you want to connect to database. So the native way or the best way of doing it is to write JDBC coding. JDBC is the native way of, it's a native libraries for connecting to the database. Okay, and retrieving queries, you can write SQL queries, update statement, select statement, insert statement. You can create, retrieve data, update, insert. You can do all of that by writing JDBC code. So but what happens is the JDBC code requires you to write a lot of boilerplate code. Boilerplate code means some additional code which you have to always write. So it's like it runs into hundreds of lines of code. So for even achieving one small feature like just making an SQL query to get back something from one table, it can take like a lot of lines of code, maybe 100 lines of code. So that is where Hibernate comes into picture, or ORM. It is also called as object relationship mapping. Hibernate framework comes into picture by where you can define model, entity model corresponding to tables, and then using repositories, that is like Spring repository, Spring Hibernate, that is a Spring Hibernate integration using Hibernate plus Spring. With just couple of lines of code, 100 lines becomes 10 lines or even less than that, maybe 2 lines also. So if you use Hibernate, it makes your life easy. Your programming and coding becomes easier if you use Hibernate. So it's very much recommended. A lot of companies use Hibernate very extensively. I will strongly recommend that you learn Hibernate. Okay, this is also called as JPA also. Okay, all right. Then when I spoke about HTML and CSS, I said like, yeah, you said like, you're good at Tailwind. So Tailwind is good enough. You don't have to. So if you know Tailwind, it's good, it's great. Okay, if you want to know more, you can learn, definitely you can learn Bootstrap. And you can explore some other frameworks, whatever is available. Like I said, Material UI is one framework. Okay. And with respect to JavaScript, we were talking about React.js, right? So React.js is a front-end framework. It's a JavaScript library which extends JavaScript, but it's more than library. It is a framework. The idea, what does a framework mean? A framework helps you solve commonly expected behavior with fewer lines of code. That's a framework. For example, Hibernate is a framework. Spring Boot is a framework. Bootstrap is a framework. This is a CSS framework. Tailwind is also a framework. So these are all frameworks which help you do something, okay, help you write some kind of code. So for example, using React.js, what you can achieve is you can write single page applications. So just like, one page is loaded and everything is loaded in that page. And from then on, you'll make REST API calls and you'll keep changing the interfaces. But there is like, you never reload the whole page. Okay, that's called a single page application. So React.js, AngularJS, Vue.js, they are all examples of single page applications. They are all frameworks. All right. Yeah, so that's about this JavaScript. Okay, so you need to learn a combination of this Java, JavaScript, SQL, HTML plus CSS. So like I said in the beginning, it's actually not very difficult, but because there are a lot of steps, it sounds overwhelming. That's why it sounds very difficult, because you have to integrate these three things, right? So first of all, you'll write HTML code, you'll make it look beautiful, and then you'll write React.js code, and then you'll deploy it on the server. That's the front end, right? And then here, the backend part of it. So the Java code, you'll write the Java code, and then you'll connect it with SQL using the JDBC. So that's the backend. So, and then you expose the REST APIs from here. So REST API, you have to learn the basics of REST APIs. And then these REST APIs will be exposed to the front-end framework created here. I mean, the front-end combination of the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, React.js. So the REST APIs will be consumed by this JavaScript. Okay, let me reorganize this picture and make it look better. So what's happening now is, let's divide this into front-end code and back-end code. So this is your front end, and this is your back end. So what's a front end and what's a back end? So what it basically means is, front end is that code which runs on your laptop. Okay, so if this is your laptop, okay, when you go to chrome.com, so this is your Chrome. Okay, right now you are on Chrome. So whatever is running, the code which is running inside your Chrome browser is called as the front end code. All right. Okay, what's the question? Could you show us with a simple code as an example? I'm sure. Yeah, sure. I'll show you an example. So front end is this code, which is like the code which is there. Like front end is this, where you will be writing some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code, plain JavaScript or React.js code, and then you will be consuming something from the backend. So what is backend? So backend is like typically hosted on a server, application server, like something like Tomcat. You will host your Spring Boot on a Tomcat, or you will run it as an independent process. This is the Spring Boot application. So here is what the REST APIs are being called. So you call a REST API, and then there are some APIs which are being exposed from this Tomcat, from this Spring Boot application. So this is a Java application, and then this is how it works. Okay, let us see some examples now. I'll show you some examples how it works. Okay, let me share my screen now. So if I have to show you a sample React app, how it looks like. This is how it looks, right? Yeah. So it's starting. I just typed npm run start, and then it started this. Hi all, this is Sridhar Jammalamadaka. Welcome to Career Transformation Hub. Happy learning. Okay. I hope you're able to see my screen. Okay, let me just show my screen. I hope you're able to see this. Hi all, this is Sridhar Jammalamadaka. Welcome to Career Transformation Hub. Happy learning. Let's go back to the code and just let's change something. Instead of saying this, I'll say, welcome to this webinar on full stack Launchpad. Okay. If I save this, it's compiling, and then it says, welcome to this webinar on full stack Launchpad. Okay. I'm in a full stack application with a login page, and it saves the details to the database using REST API and all that. Okay, sure. We'll do that. So we'll try to do that. Okay. It can be a little bit challenging for me at the moment, because I'm not sure if I have the database up and running. I'll have to install, but let us see. How much ever we can do, let's do it. Okay, fine. Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do the whole thing. Okay. How does it work? So let's first design what we are supposed to do on the whiteboard, and then we'll go to the development environment, and we'll do it. All right. Okay. Let's see how it works. So first of all, we want a React application to be built. Inside this, we'll write some HTML code. Maybe like we'll create a form, maybe like a login form. Okay. And then what happens is, like, we'll call a REST API from here. And then we will write a Spring Boot app here. And we will create one app here called /login. So which will accept the username and password. I'm not sure if I can install the database right now. I'll try it. Let's try if it's possible. Okay. Let's hit the database and then we'll retrieve the username password and then we'll say success or failure. Okay. We'll try to do this. So this is how we should first logically lay it out and what are we doing, etc. And then now let's go to the Spring Boot application and we'll start writing a Spring Boot application. So how are you going to get started with a Spring Boot application? I'm going to show you now. Okay. So what I will do if I have to get started with the Spring Boot application is I'll go to new window and just say Spring Boot application. Okay. So then what happens is I'll come to a get. Okay. Instead of that, just type Spring Boot web application, REST API. Yeah, let's do that. Spring Boot REST API. Yeah, this is good. So then it says building REST services with Spring Boot. Okay, then we'll get an example. It's like getting started with this. Okay, not this. There is something better than this. Select the second one. Here we have a guide. And okay, it's going to take 15 minutes or so, Java 17, and we require Maven and all of this. And how are we going to do it? I'm going to say, so first of all, we require a Spring project. So we'll go to start.spring.io. So this is called as a Spring initializer. So let us take the latest stable version 3.2.1, and then let's say my website, I'll put it like Career Transformation Hub. Okay. And yeah, I'll use Maven. Okay. And then I'll say API. Okay. We'll say sample. Okay. Let's just say API. We'll say demo project for login. Okay. So then what we'll do, okay, we're going to package it as a jar file instead of war file. Let us select Java 17 instead of Java 21. Okay. Then I'll click, I'll have to do some selection here. Dependencies. I'll have to add the dependencies here. So in this, I'm going to add web. I'll add Spring Web. Yeah, that's it. That's all I need. And yeah, we can use Spring JDBC or Spring JPA or any one of this, and then just okay, just JPA. So what we'll do now is I'll select Spring JPA here. Okay, JDBC and JPA both. Okay. So now I'll just click on generate. Let's see what happens. So here we got a file here. Okay, let me open that file. So here is the file. I'm going to unzip this. Okay, so this is the API folder. So we got all of this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open IntelliJ Community Edition. So I've got IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition 2022.3. You can get the latest one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project from here. Okay. So I'll close the existing project here. And I'll say open project and I'll go to the downloads. Yeah, I'll select the downloads. Then I'll select the API here. and the API project here. That's what we downloaded and extracted here. Okay, and select that. Then I'll say trust this project, and I'll say trust the project. And then I'll open this project and let's see what happens. So what will happen right now is like the Maven will get downloaded, Maven gets installed, and all the dependencies that are required for the Maven will be installed. I'll have to see whether Java 17 has been installed on my system or not. Let's see one by one what happens. Let's see how it goes. So right now, everything seems to be working smoothly. There seems to be no problem at the moment. Let's see, downloading dependencies is still going on. So now what's this Maven? So this, if I open this pom.xml, this is called as a pom.xml, okay? This is a primary object model. So this is where like I specified like Java version, I specified like I want to work with Spring Data, JDBC, Spring Data JPA, and then I want to use the Spring Starter Web, Spring Starter Test, etc. So these are like the basic dependencies. Okay, and let's wait. Let's just wait that all these things are getting downloaded. So things are getting downloaded here. Okay, let's just wait for that to happen. So other parts of it, I'll explain you here. The SRC folder is there. SRC folder is having. Okay, maybe let me see if I can. Is there a possibility to make it bigger? Okay. Okay, never mind. Let me see if there is any possibility to increase the size. Okay, a little bigger now. Okay. So now what we'll do here is we'll see what is going on here. We have API application.java. Inside here, we have the application.properties here. Okay. So this is where we have to specify all the database related information, etc. Okay. Now what we will do is everything has been downloaded. I think the dependencies are also downloaded. Let's just confirm if all the dependencies are downloaded. We'll go here, go to the project. And we'll see the external libraries. I can see here all the external libraries like Java 11. Okay, first of all, Java 11 has been installed here. So first of all, I have to change that. So I have to check if Java 17 has been installed on my machine. Let me install Java 17 and then let's proceed. Okay. So I'm going to check. I'm going to see program files and then check if Java 17 is installed. Java 17, JDK 17 is right here. Okay. Okay, that's great news. So we just have to ensure JDK 17 is here, but I'll have to change the default library here, right? So I'm going to go to file and just say settings and just say JDK. If I'm going to say Java compiler, we'll have to figure out a way. It's not working. We'll go to file and project structure, and let's see this SDK. Okay, SDK is here. Just click on this. Yeah, select this program files JDK 17. Okay, just select this detected SDK. So I selected the language type to 17 now, the project, and then I'll hit OK button. So now it's going to be using Java 17 because the Spring Boot 3.2, it will expect JDK 17. Okay, let's just wait for the IDE to finish its processing. Okay, everything is fine now. JDK 17 is also here. All the Maven dependencies are here. Everything is fine now. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I have to go to API application.java and just check if everything is there here. I'll right click on this application, right click on this file and click run API application.main. Let me see if it is able to start up. Okay, it's trying to start the Spring Boot application now. So it's saying starting with Java 17 and it's trying to start with things application failed. URL attribute is not specified and no embedded data source could be configured. So the reason for this is because we have given it to be a Spring Data JPA application. If you're giving a Spring Data JPA application, you're supposed to give inside the application.properties, you're going to give some database URL here and all. Okay. So let me just see for some. Okay, let's do one thing. We'll start using ChatGPT. Okay, just say, okay, give me the application dot properties for a blank Spring Boot application using Spring Data JPA to connect to an embedded database H2. Okay. Okay, so we got the configuration. So what I'm going to do here is like just take this configuration, paste it here. Yeah, and it's also giving me like, yeah, these are some things which I'll have to add to form.xml also. Okay, let me just copy this code and paste it here. Yeah, Spring JDBC H2 mem test, everything is fine. Go back and then I go here and then these dependencies have to be there. Spring Boot JPA starter is there already. So all I have to do is I'll have to take this one, which is like H2 database. I'll take the H2 database. Spring Boot starter data JPA is already there. Let's just confirm that. Go to pom.xml. Okay. Go to pom.xml and just see if it is there. Spring Boot starter data JPA. Sorry, Spring Boot starter data JPA is already there. So it's not required. Okay. Web is there. Starter boot transfer. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to paste this here, H2 database and save it. Now I'll try to run this application again and let's see if it's up. Okay, it's downloading the necessary dependencies. Okay, and then now I'm just going to run this again. Let's see what happens. There's an error. Okay, let's find out. It says cannot load the driver. Error create. Okay, let's see. Well, let's see step by step what's the exact problem. Okay, it says class not found exception or H2 driver. And let me check if the Maven is up. So what I'll do is I'll say Maven lifecycle clean install. Let me do MVN clean install so that like we can be sure that all the dependencies are downloaded. Okay, H2 dependencies are now downloaded. Compilation is happening. Okay, so okay, tests are running now and build is successful. Okay, that's great. So let me check if the dependencies for H2 has come here in the external libraries. And type H2. I don't find H2 here, so that's going to be a little bit of problem now. We have to make sure that the H2 library also comes here. So what we'll do is, this won't work until that is fixed. What I'll do is, like, I'll go to pom.xml and just save it once more. Right click and see if there is some way to reload the project. I'll click on reload the project. Okay. Decide to reload it'll try to resolve the dependencies. Okay, then it's saying that it's fine now. Let's take a shot. Okay, let's just see what happens now. If it's able to load the H2 database driver now or not. Okay, I'll click on allow. Okay, the API application is up. So now we have been able to connect to H2 database. H2 database is an embedded database. Okay, it's not like a separate database. It's an embedded database. I'll just tell you like what's happening so far. Okay, so what did we do so far is, like, I set up a Spring Boot application on top of Java 17 platform, and which has the following dependencies. I added JPA, JDBC, and H2 database. So this is in-memory database. So what that means is, it's not like a physical database, but it's like within the memory, it will be there until you run it. Once you stop the application, it's gone. Okay, it's lost. So it's just like for testing purposes, this is an in-memory database. Ideally, we use Postgres or MySQL or SQL Server, like that. Okay, so far we have been able to set this up and we are able to connect all of this. And let's just try to get something like, if I put /hello, okay, it must return me something like this message. Okay, wait. So return me something like message and hello world. Okay, let's try to do this. How do we do it? /hello, right? So now let's just get back to our coding. And let's write a controller layer here. So it's called a controller layer. So right click here and just say new and type Java class and just say main controller, or let's say, yeah, .java. Okay, main controller Java. Okay. And for this, you'll put @controller here. Okay. And then inside this, you can put /API here. Okay. Or just leave it like this. Then here, I'm going to say, so we'll have to write a method here. So for filling up the get here, so let's do something very simple. So first of all, let's just create a model here, which we'll be using. So I'll call it as the response model. So the response model should consist of a private string message. That's it. So what I'll do, I'll create getters and setters for this. I'll right click here and I'll say I'll type alt insert. Sorry. Yeah, I'll just look for actions here and just type getters and setters. So I'll select this and then I'll generate the getters and setters. So the generation of getters and setters is also ready. Okay, so now let's just use ChatGPT and just get the rest of the code done. It should be easy. Just say that, I have a model. Okay, now write a method in to return a message, hello world. In case slash hello is called. Okay. So let's just wait for that. So, okay. So now, so what we're going to get is we're going to get like, okay, response model and say hello. So just take this and paste it here. So I'll have to resolve the dependencies for this. Click on this, control space, resolve the dependency, control space, resolve the dependency. Okay, so now like we are ready. So right now we'll just rerun the application again. Stop this. Let's right click. Just click on the run application. Okay, stop this and run the application. Okay. Okay. So what we are going to do right now, we'll go to the browser. Okay, we'll see it's like localhost 8080. What is the port number on which it is starting? PID 3120. And let me see what's the port number. Just check the port. Is it 8080? Okay, so now go to the browser. Go to the browser and just click, go to a new tab and just say localhost 8080/hello. And here we go. We got the response that we're looking for. Okay, so here is the message. So we got message hello world. Okay, so now what we want to do is first let us consume this message and show it in the front end application. Okay, in the React.js. So here I want to call the API and show whatever message is coming hello world by making an API call here and then showing it here. Okay. So what do we do? How do we do that now? Okay. So let's just go to our React application here. And here we'll have to write some code, right? So here we'll say, we'll put some div here. I'll say ID is equal to message. Okay. Now I'll say, take this code and go back to ChatGPT. And type this, say, okay, write the code to make a REST API call to http://localhost 8080/hello and consume the message and show it in the div with ID message. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, we are going to use the fetch function now. So the way it's going to work is, yeah, so first of all, we'll put the message here as message. Okay, let me do that. Go back here and put message here. All right, then go back. It'll be an error here because I have not defined the message. So the next thing is I'll have to define a state here. Define a state, use effect and use state. And then I'll have to define a message here. Constant message set message use state. Now the errors will go. The errors will go. Errors are gone. But at the moment, we are not getting any call. So we are not able to see hello world here, right? So we want to see hello world. So for that, what we have to do, we need to call this use effect. So this is a use effect method. What it does is it is making a fetch call to the localhost 8080 and it's getting the response and it's getting the data.message and then it is setting to the message, set message. Okay, the state of this message is getting set to the hello world. And then we are showing that message here. Okay, so that's what is happening. So we're showing the message here. Okay, let's just try to do that. And I'm telling you, we can expect an error here. And I'll tell you how to fix that. Let's see if we are getting any error here by doing this. So I'm just using this use effect here and then I'll save it. Let's see what happens. So I'll just go and then nothing is showing. Let's try to find out what's going on here. Okay. I'll right click and go to inspect element. Okay. And then I'll see that there's an error. So I was saying that, you have to expect an error here, right? So let's see what's going on. Let's refresh again and see what's happening. Here we go. So there is a CORS error. So what is this CORS error? CORS means cross origin request server. Okay. So we have to enable CORS on the server for this to work. So let's just say now I'm going to go to ChatGPT and say, I got a CORS error. Give me code to enable CORS on Spring Boot. Now let's see what happens. So use @cross origin. Origin is equal to localhost 3000 localhost. So we are going to take this from here, go to the REST API controller, main controller. Okay, so then I'm going to paste this here, cross origin. Okay, now let me restart. It should solve the problem. Let me restart this and see what happens. So now I just solved the cross origin problem. I'm saying if the origin is localhost 3000, then just don't show the cross origin issue. Okay, I'm not going into a lot of details here. There's a lot of detail here. So one thing you can notice that it's not very difficult to write code. Okay, so you just need to know what you're doing. That's the most important thing. You know that? Okay, perfect. Let's see what happens. So hello world has come here. I'll refresh and show you again. Refresh it. Let's see. Here is hello world. Okay, you see, that's how it's working, right? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to, like, let's say I want to write a login form and then I want to populate this login form into this. Okay, so let's do one thing and let's just say, okay, I'm going to go to the React page and then just say, okay, go to this and say, okay, this is my page, add a login form to it. And when we click on login button, go to /login, make a post request to /login. Okay, let's do that. So what happens? So what is happening here? So there is another variable that's being added here, login data, set login data with the username and password. Okay. So, and then where is the username and password? Let's see that. So let's see what's going on. So there is some additional form that has been added here. So let us copy that form first. I'll copy the form here. Then just go to this here. And then I just put the form here. And there's going to be error here because it's expecting login data.username and then it's expecting handle input change. So this is like on change. Whenever the password is changing, it's calling handle input change. Whenever this login data, whenever on change, handle input change, login.data.username. And so we require to put all of this here. Okay, so all of this is missing. So let's just put these things back. So the first thing is login data. Okay, so login data and on change, right? So let's get the login data. So here is the login data. So login data is containing username and password. So let me put it here. So login data is containing the username and password. Now the errors are not yet done because we have handle login and handle input change that needs to be fixed. So let me take the handle login and the handle input change and copy it. Okay, so let's go one by one first. First, let's put handle input change. And let me explain you what is that doing. So here, if I put the handle input change, only handle login is pending, everything is okay. So what this is doing is, it is setting the, so handle input change. So whenever you're typing something inside the username here, this handle input change is getting called. I mean, so let's say that ABCD you're typing, then this is getting called. Even the password also it's getting called. So whatever the value is coming here, e.target.value is being set inside the login data. Okay, the login data will be setting the If it is a password, it will set the password. If it is a username, it will set the username. Okay. So username and password will be set here. All right. So now what happens? Let's just see what happens. So now the only thing that's pending is the login handle. So what is happening here? So when we click on handle login, you have to make a fetch call to localhost 8080 login. Okay. And then what is it doing? If the response is successful, just say that login response is this. Show the data. Otherwise, say that, error during login. Okay. Let's just try this now. I'm going to copy the handle login thing and paste it right below this and save it and just see. Okay, there are no errors now, but let's see what happens in the front end right now. Okay, there are some runtime errors. Okay, now here we have the username here. I'm going to type Sridhar and password. I'm going to type Sridhar and just click on login and just see what happens. Let's just wait for something to come. Okay, if nothing is coming, I'll just right click and just go to the inspect element and just see what's happening here. Okay, so I can see that there are some errors here. So what are the errors here? Go to the console and check. Here are the errors. Okay, so it says failed to fetch. Okay, let's go to the network and see what happened. Once more, refresh, go to the network. Okay, and then here I'm going to say type the username and password, enter. You see there's a CORS error here. Okay, so let's fix the CORS error first, and let's create an API for post. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So first I'll copy paste this whole thing and paste it here, and I'm saying login, and then say post mapping, and then put login. Okay, at least to this. Let's start with this first. All right, so now let me restart this. So we'll go one by one, step by step, and see what happens. Okay. Okay, application is up. I go back here and then I click on login again. Let me see what happens. I'll just clear the whole thing. Click on login again. Okay, I got a message, login response message, hello world is coming. So response is coming here. That's fine. But then there's no error here. Okay. So once the response comes, I want to show it inside this message. Okay. So inside this app.js, whatever response that I get, right? So I want to show it there. So what I'll do is instead of showing, let's not do this use effect hello. Let's not no longer use this. I'll just comment it out. I will say data.message, right? We want to set data.message, set message of data.message. Take this, copy this, and go to handle login. And then here, just paste it here. Set message data.message. Okay, let's try to do this now. Just type here and click on login, and you can see hello world has come. So that means it's successful, right? It is successfully logging in. So if there was some error, there would have been problem. So the point is, see this login, we are in the payload, we are passing username and password, but we are not getting it from here. Okay, we are supposed to get that here, isn't it? So we need to get this. So for that, we'll have to just ask, we'll just take the help of ChatGPT to help us out. We'll say, okay, I'll go to ChatGPT and say, okay, ChatGPT, can you modify this to accept 2 parameters from form? Okay, parameters in body, in request body, username, comma, password. Now let's see what happens. Okay, so how is it going to work? So we need to create another model here called login request, which will contain username and password. So I'll go back here. I'll go to the model here and here, and I'll create a Java class. And what's that called? Login request. And then I'm going to paste the code here. And I'm going to create some getters and setters. Okay, getters and setters. And I got the login request here. Done. Okay, now next go back to the main controller, and then it says, yeah, copy this code from here, paste it here. Yeah, and the request body is login request, and get the username, get the password here. And then, first let's try this. If the username and password is coming here or not, we'll see. Okay, let's just print it here and check. Okay, before we try to do something. So I'll just say as a system.out. Okay. I'll just type system.out.println. I'll say username is username, and then say password is, and say plus password. Okay. So now what happens now? Let's just see that. Okay. So what's wrong? System.out.println. What's wrong? What's wrong? Okay. Okay. So now let's just restart this again and just check if we're able to get this system.out.println. I mean, we should be able to get this username and password here. Then we will check in the database and then come back. Okay. So that's how it works. Okay. So yeah, the application is up, and then I'll go here and then go to this. And right now I'll type here Sridhar, and the password, I'll type it as password 123 and click on login. Now let's see what happened. The username is Sridhar and the password is password 123. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to say to ChatGPT, I'm going to say, can you modify this method to verify in the users table in H2 if the username and password are matching. Also, tell me, how do I add a users table and populate username and password? Okay, use Spring JPA for this. Okay, now let's see what happens. Okay, so we need to create an entity user. First of all, create an entity class called as the user. So let's first create this entity class called as user. So I'll go back to my Java code. I'll create an entity and call it user. Okay. And sorry. All right. So now, Java persistence API is missing. So for this, we'll have to check if we have got the JPA here or not. Something went wrong. I think we should have got the JPA also. Spring Boot Starter JPA. Okay, it's not that. Okay. So what's the dependency to add in pom.xml to make entity work? So we need to have Spring Boot Starter data JPA, and we already have that. And I don't know why this is not correct, because we already have it. Java package. What is that? This is systems done. java.jakarta.persistence.int. I think the names have changed. It's Jakarta. Okay, now it should be fine. Okay, I'm going to write some getters and setters now. So getters and setters for all of this, and we are done. Let's go to the next one. So next thing is I have to write a repository class called user repository, which is called find by username and password. Okay, I'll take that and I'll create a user repository here. Say user repository. Okay, and this is the code here. And yeah, we are good to go. We are ready with this. And then inside the main controller, we have to modify our code here like this, which is like checking it's working or not. So I'm going to go here to my main controller and I'm going to change this to this. And also I'll have to add the user repository here. So I'm going to say private user repository, okay? And I have to do some kind of injection here. So I'm going to say main controller user repository. Okay, and I'll say this dot user repository is equal to user. So this is called a constructor injection. So this is constructor injection. I'm doing constructor injection. Let's see if this is working fine. Okay. So now we have everything in place. Only thing that we have to do is we have to insert the data inside the SQL. That is a H2 database. Okay. Let me see if everything else is working normally. Okay, everything is okay so far. Something is wrong here. It says, let me see. Error executing DDL, create table, ID begin, generate a default identity, password, username, primary key ID, JDBC syntax, create table, begin, expected identifier. Okay, so I think the problem is inside the user.java. So we did not mention what is the primary key here, right? So we didn't say that this is the primary key, right? So how do you mention that? So that's what I think is the problem. Okay, but ID actually means the same thing. Okay, let's just see. I'll just go and check it out. So I'll copy this error here. Okay. Why am I getting this? Okay, the problem is we are calling the entity as user. Let's call it as app user. Yeah. Sometimes when we call this entity as user, it becomes a problem. Let's rename this into app user, refactor it and rename it to app user. Okay. Let's just rename the whole thing. Okay, do the refactor and let's just try to restart it again. The problem is sometimes the user is a reserved keyword, and when we try to use the reserved keyword, it becomes a little bit of a problem. Okay, so I change it to app user and let's just see what happens. So let's just see if it's solving all our problems. Okay. So far, okay, perfect. It's able to start. Okay, it's able to start now. So I'll go here and give a login, and it says invalid username and password. So this is the only thing that we have to fix now. So we're getting a response, authentication failed, invalid username and password. Everything is working fine. So all I have to do is now after I enter into the username and password into the database, and we are done with our application. Okay. So now let's see how do we do that. So we saw, it said, create a file called data.sql, copy this code, and go to src main resources data.sql. Okay, go to src main resources, read a data.sql. So what happens, whatever code is there inside this gets executed. So inside into the names, so I'm going to put Sridhar and I'm going to set password 1 to 3. I'm going to say career transformation hub, say career 1 to 3. Okay, and now what we're going to do is let's restart this, see what happens. So we put this inside main/resources inside data.sql. Everything is perfect. H2 is starting, but then, okay, it's not users, it's app user. All right. So let's do it once more. It's not users. Okay, what's the problem? It says table app user not found. Yeah, let's see. I added data.sql with this. The app is crashing. I'm going to click this. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. All right. So it says the reason is because H2 database. So this might be due to because when the entity is scanning, make sure the entity scan check is there. And okay, so let's try this. I think this should work. So first of all, let's say Spring Data JPA, create drop. Let's put this inside the application.properties. Go to the application.properties. Okay, go to application.properties and just give this not update, but create drop. Okay, first thing, let's try this. Let's try this one first, single. If this helps. Okay, not yet helping. So what is it saying? It's saying table app user not found. Okay, it's just saying app user not found. Okay, let's just see this. Let's take this physical name implementation and put this here. The problem is that we have to create this inside the, see the problem, what happens is the H2, when you're starting it, at that time you're expected to create that app user table inside it. If it's not able to find that, that's going to be a big problem. That's the problem. Yeah. Okay, the same problem, it's not fixing it yet. Okay, let's just see what is the next thing that we can do. Ensure that the entity scan annotation is correctly configured in the main. This annotation specifies the base package. No, I don't think that's a problem. But anyways, we'll just confirm that. We'll go to the Spring API application, entity scan. I don't think there's any problem with this, but just confirm this. Oops. I don't think this is the problem. But let's just try this out. So what this is doing is it's ensuring that in the current folder, all the entities are there. So for example, app user entity, what we can give also, what we can try is like we can give a table name here. Okay. So we can say table name as app user, give the name explicitly. It's not allowing. Name is equal to. That's not the problem. Okay. So that's what it is. It's not finding the app user table. So I'm going to ask a different query. I'm going to say, okay, tell me how can I manually create a table in H2 before the application starts. Yeah. So we can do this. We can put a, this is a good idea. So inside the init.sql, it says create an inside the init.sql src/main/resources init.sql and create this. Okay, that's a good idea. We can try that. This will work. Instead of data.sql, just put this here, rename this to init.sql. Okay. Refactor it, rename it to init.sql. Okay. Now let's just try this out. So what this is essentially doing is it's creating a table if it's not existing, and then it's trying to insert. Okay. All right. So the table has been created and the data has been inserted. Now let me just check. I'm going to give a right username and wrong username and check. I'm giving a right username and just checking. Okay, it says application failed. I'm giving a right username, Sridhar123. Just give me. Okay, it's not accept. It says authentication failed, invalid user or password. Okay, let's just see what's happening here. Where username is equal to this and password is equal to this. Okay, the Sridhar and password 123 is supposed to be given. Username is Sridhar and password 123. Okay, let me just try that. Password 123. Okay, message authentication failed, invalid username or password. So we'll have to figure this out. Okay, I'll try this. Carrier transformation hub and carrier 123. Okay, same thing. It says authentication failed. Okay, let's figure it out. So something is going wrong here. We'll put some log statements here and find out what's happening. Okay, here API application. What I'll do, I'll just go here. I'll go to the main controller and right here. So I'll go to the user repository. Why are we calling it user repository? It's not user repository. It's, let's rename it to app. Let's rename it. Let's rename this to app user ref. As we changed, right? It's app user repository. Select all. Okay. Okay, this is one thing that we can do. What else can we do? We can check what's coming here inside the model. We can do some kind of debugging. Just do debugging. Let's do debugging. I'll put a debugging statement here. I'll stop this and I'll start the debugger here instead of starting the application. Okay. Then now let's see. It will stop exactly here and then we will start from there. So I'm going to go here and just say click on login. Let me hit login. Okay, here we go. Now we are here. Let's go step by step, step over. So the username is carrier transformation hub, password is carrier123. It's working fine. The username is perfect, password is correct. And now I'm going to the user repository and find by username and password. I'm going to see if we are getting anything return. So what's happening here? Did we get any app user here? App user we are getting as null. So the problem is here. We are not able to find by username and password with carrier transformation hub and password carrier 123. We are not able to find something there. Okay. So what is the problem there? Find by username and password, string username and password. Let's just see what's wrong. Find by username, password. Find by. So something has gone wrong here. Find by username and password. It's not able to find. We're getting app user as null. This is failing, right? Is there any error? No errors. It's just not able to find it. As simple as that. Why is it not finding? What if I do some kind of a select statement, select star from? Is the init.sql getting, okay, insert into app user, username and password? Or could be the problem. How do we check? Okay, let's do something. Let's go to ChatGPT and ask, can I browse the H2 database while Spring Boot app is up? Let's see that. Okay. You have to enable the H2 console. Enable the H2 console. Go to api.properties, application.properties, and enable the H2 console. It's already enabled. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll go to the /h2/console. So I'll go to localhost 8080/H2 console. Okay. So I'll connect it. What's the name of the database? The name of the database is SA, password is SA and password testdb. What's wrong? This is testdb and this is SA and this is password. Test connection. Something is wrong. Generic embedded driver class testdb SA password. Save this. SA and password test connection. It says Sridhar/testdb not found. Why is it saying that? I'll have to check why. Okay. It should be okay. We are trying to do a memory database, in-memory database. Go to this application.properties. What did we give? Memory. It's in memory. H2 mem testdb. H2 JDBC H2 memdb. Correct. H2 test mdb. And Spring Data. You want to use an in-memory database. Allow resource remote database connection. Okay. So I think let's go back to that. Embedded. What should be the JDBC URL? Let's just see. Let's just ask that. What should be JDBC URL for accessing H2? Yeah. So if you're using an in-memory database with JDBC, you won't be able to access H2 console. So what can you do? This should be the correct URL. Okay, let's try that. This is wrong URL. Okay, let's try this. Okay. Now it's connecting. Okay, now we are able to connect. Now let's see what's happening here. App user, we have select star from app user, but there are no records here. That means there's no username and password getting inside it. Okay. So let's just run this. For some reason, this is not getting created. The reason could be this. We create drop because we are doing a create drop. I'll just do an update here. Okay, instead of doing create drop. Let me try this. Last try, or else I know what to do. Okay, now everything is up. Select star from app user. Okay, first of all, log in. Select star from app user. Okay, fine. Let's just insert it manually. For some reason, this is not getting inserted. So let's just populate it like this. Run it. Done. Now, let's go back. And now, let me just see what happens. Okay. And then come back here. Check username, correct. Password, correct. App user, got it. Perfect. This is working now. Finally, it's done. Hello. Login successful. Let's try something else. Sridhar. And first I'll give a wrong password. Wrong password. Correct password. Done. So to summarize, we have learned today how do you add security. Maybe we'll do that some other time. Surely we'll do that sometime. We'll add security to it. Maybe I'll do some kind of more workshops like this. Stay in touch with me. I'll do more workshops. I'll be teaching. I'll be training. Full stack development, step by step. I'm doing that. So stay in touch with me, and I'll just give you a link to my WhatsApp community, and you can be a part of that community. And then whenever I have the next session, I take a session on every Friday evening. I will give you the link and you can join me from there. Is that okay? Maybe next week I'll try to cover how do you do add security. So do you have anything specific in security? What is it that you want to add? JWT, OAuth, what kind of security you want? OpenID, security, JWT, what kind of security? Type in the chat. Anything specific? How do you use JWT or OAuth? Anything is fine. Perfect. Maybe next week we'll do this. Siddharth, join my WhatsApp community and then I'll put my message there and I will teach you how to add JWT. Is that okay? You learned something today? You liked what you learned today? How was your learning? You learned something? Yes or no? Link is not working. Thank you. Let me just check. Are you sure? Sure. Just check this. Check this once more. If link is not working, then use this link and come to my Facebook community. You can come to my Facebook community. Yeah, this one. You join using this. Come to my Facebook community using this link. Okay. I don't know why the link is not working, but I just checked now. It's fine. All right. So I'll continue in the next class. I'm going to talk about security. I'll talk about how to connect JWT or OAuth, one of them. And then we'll continue from there. Is that okay? All right. Thank you, Sridhar. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your patient hearing. I hope you liked the class and we'll continue learning like this. All right. See you. Happy weekend.